adorning his own wrist, ascended as giant tribe's new monarch. Yet the two-headed giant failed to spot in that instant a savage giant eyeing him with malevolent intent. Solemnly, the Elder King perceived impending calamity. High atop an immense vine, an unstoppable force lurked against mankind. The monarch wasted no time instructing his warriors to eradicate the vine with urgency. The troops, receiving commands, leapt into action, driving large iron stakes into the botanical structure and attaching robust chains. Once preparations were complete, the soldiers drove their horses forward. As the force increased, the vines started being uprooted one by one. But at this moment, disaster struck as more and more branches were ripped out, whizzing towards the crowd. Soldiers who couldn't escape in time were smashed to death. As the trunk exploded and the giant vine began to topple downwards, chaos ensued. At this moment, the captain on the floating island noticed something was wrong, and without hesitation, dashed out, barely managing to hold onto the two-headed giant at the top of the vine. Seeing the vine moving further away, he let out a roar of frustration. With the acceleration of the verdant island, he had reached halfway up the nexus. Clutching onto a limb, he secured the princess firmly and descended in a whirl, arriving safely onto terra firma, with straw to dampen their fall. And the captain took advantage of the opportunity, letting go and jumping into the moat below. Then Tungwan completely! The journey to dominate mankind was thwarted. Disheartened, the bi-faced giant stood ready to withdraw, yet one head began quarreling without end. It seemed to have discovered something significant. The two-headed giant, annoyed, glanced over and was immediately captivated by what he saw. He approached, picked up a pouch that had fallen on the ground, and upon opening it, found a few magic beans that could grow roots when in water. The two-headed giant gently blew on the beans, causing them to fly from his hand into a nearby small stream. After just a brief soak, something magical happened. The seeds quickly germinated, sprouting from the hard ground. Words and bright expressions. The giants jumped onto the vines that stretched madly. Once everyone had set off, the two-headed giant, being the king, leaped down and grabbed hold of the vine that extended continuously downward. Below, Jack was about to lead his horse away when he suddenly saw vines dangling from the sky into the trough before him. Realizing the danger, Jack spurred his horse towards the castle to warn everyone about the giant invasion. But it was too late. The vine had already reached the ground and giants began descending into the human world. By the time Jack caught up to the group, the giants were already swarming from behind. Everyone rushed to speed up, knowing only by reaching the castle could they have any chance. Yet ordinary horses couldn't outrun the giants, and any soldier who got caught had no escape. Soon, only a handful of the group remained. Even the king lost his crown to a windmill thrown by the giants. Inside the castle, the captain sternly ordered his men to bring the black oil. Then ordered them to shoot arrows, igniting the black oil to create a natural wall of fire, with the king and a few others escaping back into the castle just in time. Although Jack was still outside, for the safety of the entire city, the captain resolutely ordered the drawbridge to be raised. Just before it closed completely, Jack managed to make it back, but the two-headed giant grabbed the drawbridge. About to climb up, the captain immediately ordered an attack, sending a volley of arrows that the two-headed giant couldn't withstand. The giant fell into the fire below with his helmet picked up by an underling who coldly observed as the giant screamed and disappeared into the flames. The subordinate showed no reaction and casually tossed the helmet back. To everyone's surprise, the two-headed giant in the fire didn't die. He swam through an underwater current towards the palace. A massive bronze bell flew from the palace, smashed a vine, and the king still passed away. Not only... it crashed straight into the former king's statue. As everyone stood puzzled, a sharp knife emerged on the closing drawbridge. The ferocious giant was commanding his minions to madly pull the drawbridge. If successful, it would spell doom for the humans. On the other side, the captain and soldiers fought back fiercely. Even the king joined in, determined to live and die with his people. But no one expected that in the palace's rear, an even more terrifying giant was about to emerge from the ground, shattering the hard floor and revealing a huge hammer-like head. Seeing this, Jack and the princess immediately turned to flee. They quickly ran to the exit hoping to relay the situation. But then a huge hand grabbed the princess, revealing the two-headed giant, who hadn't entirely been killed. With time running out, Jack seized a nearby large knife and leaped up to strike the giant. But the giant was prepared, grabbing Jack, who then threw his knife at one of its heads, only for armor to deflect it. Though unhurt, the two-headed giant was enraged and ready to devour the human before him. In the nick of time, Jack reached for the pendant around his neck and pulled out the last magic seed, tossing it into the giant's mouth as it opened. With the magic seed ingested, the two-headed giant instantly felt a burning sensation, reflexively tossing the two away. When Jack looked back, vines were rapidly growing out of the giant, climbing up at a terrifying speed. Meanwhile, the palace battle reached its climax. Giants broke through the gate. As the captain prepared for a final stand, a loud noise came from behind, and countless vines burst from the castle, soon tearing the ancient structure apart. At that moment, the most unexpected event occurred. All the giants abruptly dropped their weapons and knelt down. When everyone turned back, they saw Jack, wearing the magical crown, emerging from the crowd. He commanded the giants to retreat to the floating island in the sky and cut down the beanstalk, permanently severing the path to the human world. Jack and the princess then united, living happily ever after.